Like, so did somebody go with you? And I said, yeah. And he said, who? And so I say, who went? And immediately he just like storms out of the room and he's in the living room just like going off. Hey guys. So I decided to do a story time because I haven't done one in a while. I don't even remember the last one I did one, actually. So this is about a relationship that I was in when I was younger. And so, okay. At first we weren't living together. And in the household there was always like a lot of guys over there. Well, then things changed and I was living over there. And I was pretty much the only girl living there. There will be girls coming in and out seeing the other guys that were there. There was 4 guys total that lived there. And I was the only girl. So the guy that I was dating, he was pretty controlling. And you know, when you're younger, I feel like you think that that's cute. It's not, ladies. And usually, to be honest with you, that controlling behavior usually leads to other abuse. But we don't think like that when we're younger. We think it's cute. Oh, he cares about me, blah, blah, blah. No. So there was a night that I was there with just the guy. So let me just say, I've never really had the spirit of fear until I was like 40. Like, I swear, not that I've never been afraid, but it just, there's times like, you know, people are like, oh, you shouldn't pop off because of this, or oh, you shouldn't go there, or oh, you shouldn't do this. And I just didn't have that fear for a very long time. I just didn't. Yes, it was possible something could happen. I just didn't think about it. It wasn't at the forefront of my mind. So I never felt uncomfortable with these guys. You know, everything was fine. But he went to work. On this particular night, there was a friend there who had been coming around a lot within that month. And I don't know how well he knew this person, but he was cool. Like, I don't remember having any issues, you know, or feeling any vibe off of him, I'll say. I didn't know him, but I wasn't thinking that hard about him either. So where we lived, there was a corner store that everybody would go to. And I mean, literally, like, it was like there was a street, and then like the street over, there was the store on the corner. So it wasn't a long walk, but it was a sketchy area, very sketchy area. Drug dealers, you know, people doing drugs, like it was just a sketchy area. So I never really walked to the store that often. I went with my cousin a couple of times because she lived nearby, but I didn't really go to the store by myself like that. And usually when I needed something from the store, one of the guys at the house went, or my man went. Well, this particular night, I wanted to go myself. I had been in the house all day. It wasn't quite dark yet. And so I'm like, I'm gonna go to the store, you know. Well, the guys were playing the game, which is what they did quite often. And they were like, wait, you know, you can't go by yourself. Mind you, I'm a grown woman. Like, this is when I was younger. I was in my 20s, but I was still a grown woman. And they're like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, if we let you go to the store by yourself, he's going to, you know, murder one of us. Like, that's not happening. I'm like, okay, well, who's going with me? Because I'm going to the store. So they're all playing the game. There's people who are, you know, so the guy who had been around for the past month regularly, he volunteered because he was like, oh, I was going to grab something anyway. I'll go with her. And I noticed like a shift in the energy in the room. like everybody was like, okay. Like no one wanted to stop playing the game, but they also were kind of like not sure that they wanted him to go with me. But they were like, okay. So we go. And everything's fine, you know, come back, everything's fine. My boyfriend gets back 2 hours later. And me and him are in the back talking, and he's asking me about my day. And I'm like, yeah, I went to the store. And he's like, you went to the store? He's like, what store? I'm like, I went to the corner store. And he's like, oh, when did you go to the corner store? It's like question after question. I'm like, and as the questions are going on, I'm like seeing the energy switch kind of, because he's like, so it was dark? And I'm like, not quite. Like when we walked back, it was dark. Like I would have been walking in the dark by myself. And he's like, so did somebody go with you? And I said, yeah. And he said, who? And so I say, who went? And immediately he just like storms out of the room, and he's in the living room just like going off. And I'm just like, what did I miss? What just happened? So he's going off. Him and the dude are getting into it. And I'm kind of thrown back because I'm like, we walked to the store. Like nothing happened. So he kind of takes me back in the room and he's questioning me. And I'm like, what is it? Like, what is the issue here? Because nothing happened. Like, he's like, tell me everything. So I tell him everything. And I'm like, he paid for my stuff. He's like, oh, he paid for the stuff. I'm like, yeah. So he tells the guy, he's like, she don't owe you nothing because you paid for the stuff. Da, da, da. I can pay you back, matter of fact. And they're like still kind of going at it. And so we end up somehow outside, and it just revs back up again. And they're just like going at, like, I'm thinking the neighbors are going to call the police because they were just like going at it. They hadn't come to blows. This particular boyfriend was like skinny, tall, but very strong. Like he could pick me up. Like he was very strong. And the other guy was more like muscular. So in my mind, I was thinking, okay, if they come to blows, I don't know how this is going to go. And I honestly think the other guy, the only reason that he kind of eventually backed down was because there was more people there on my boyfriend's side, basically. So it could have turned, the other guy, he had like a friend with him that we all didn't know really, or hadn't seen. And so, it's so hard like to remember. And I'm not going to say all the words that were being said because the words, you can imagine like what was being said. And finally they calm down. The guy leaves and we go back upstairs and we're chilling. And I just decided that night I wasn't going to bring it back up because I was just like, clearly it's a hot and heavy situation for him. I don't know why he was so bothered about me walking to the store with his friend. I've walked to the store. I've been with his friends before. Like, you left me alone here with him. So what? So a couple days later, I go and I say, can I talk to you about what happened? I said, listen, I don't know where you were coming from with this. I said, clearly you should have known nothing was going to happen. And he said, it wasn't about you. He was like, you don't know him. You don't know his past. There's things that like, I just wouldn't have felt comfortable. He's like, I don't feel comfortable that he did that. He's like, but nothing, you say nothing happened. And I said, now the guy, I didn't know his actual name. He had a nickname that we all called him. So I wanted to know his whole name so that I could look him up later, but I left it alone. But I told all the guys later on that night, I said, listen, how about y'all not bring over guys in this house that you think it could be an issue? Like, if you don't feel comfortable with me being alone with them, don't bring them here. Because I'm innocently going to the store, and then that turns into a whole blow-up thing. Now, mind you, he was controlling. My boyfriend was very controlling. But he wasn't wrong in the sense of, I didn't know that guy. I didn't know what he was about. He could have done something to me and walked away and we never saw him again, or something happened to me. So I get it. But I'm also like, you shouldn't have had him over here. He shouldn't have been here at all if that was a possibility. So, and the guys were like, yeah, we kind of had second thoughts, once you left. But we were like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Like convincing ourselves it was gonna be fine because they, I guess, knew things about him that I didn't know, and no one wanted to say. So I did wonder how bad was it. But I'm like, once again, who are you friends with? Who are you bringing over here? So yeah, that's the story of my controlling boyfriend and the situation that happened that to this day I still don't know what it was with that friend. And I didn't know his actual name to be able to look him up later. But ladies, be careful. And that whole having a controlling boyfriend, it's not cute. It doesn't mean that he loves you and that he's like, no, it's not what you think it is. And honestly, I was at a time in my life at that time when I was dating him that it probably did feel like love at the time. But later on, I was like, what in the world? I ended up having to leave him though because he was an alcoholic and 50 million other things happened. But that's my story. That's my story time. If you guys enjoyed, hit like. Comment below if you guys have any juicy stories to tell about a controlling boyfriend or whatever you'd like to talk about. And I'll see you guys next video.